guys, Emilie here from Emilie Photography. Today I'm going to tell you all about my import, export, and backup workflows. This is the workflow that I follow after every single shoot. This is the checklist that I use. You can even download this checklist for free to use yourself. You'll find it on my blog. The reason why I use a very specific checklist, even though I probably know this workflow by heart, is the checklist allows me to be 100% consistent. Because some days you'll be more tired than others and stuff can easily fall through the cracks. So to have a written out workflow, it allows me to keep the process as mindless as possible. So after a wedding day, you're probably going to feel very tired. I get home, I import my photos right away, and the less I need to think, the better. So this checklist is great for that. And it also makes sure that I have the same quality photo everywhere on my website, on my blog, on my gallery, on Instagram, on Facebook. And it also makes sure that all my clients receive the same quality image as well. Last but not least, this checklist makes sure that all the things, all the files, all the photos are always backed up in the same way, because I would never want anything to fall through the cracks. All right, I'm gonna hop right in. If you want to follow along, go download this checklist, and I'm gonna guide you through my workflow. Okay, step number 1 is the import process. It's very simple. All I'm doing is I'm taking the photos off my cards and I'm bringing them onto my computer. So the software I use for this is called Image Capture. It is an Apple specific software, so I'm sure there's something very similar for Windows users and Windows computers. I just don't know what it's called. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn my camera on. It's going to show up here under devices, and all the photos are going to start popping up right here. Perfect. So for this example, I don't have a wedding on any of my cards, so I'm just going to use this most recent engagement session that I did, but it doesn't matter because the process is going to be the exact same, whether you're doing a newborn shoot or a wedding or any kind of shoot, it's going to be the exact same process. Alright, before we go ahead and actually import any photos, I'm going to create a few folders on my computer. And how I'm going to name this folder is very important. The way I name my folders is year, month, day, and then what the shoot is all about. The reason I do this is if I put the year first, the computer is going to sort all the shoots in chronological order, and that makes it so easy to find shoots later on, and it just looks very well organized, and I'm a little bit of a freak about that, so I love it. So this shoot is 2017 March the 6th, and that is Tara and Frank engagement. So that's all I call this parent folder. Now, inside this folder, I'm going to be creating a few other ones as we go along. The first one I'm going to create is Tara, so bride and groom, Tara and Frank engagement. And these are the raw files, so I'm going to call it raw. So back in Image Capture, right here, I'm going to select that folder. So I'm going to select it right here. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to select that folder that we just created, raw, for the raw photos. And I will go ahead and select my photos. Usually I would just go import all down here, but I know that on this card I've got a few different shoots. So for the sake of this example, I'm just going to choose the right ones. So if you do choose which photos you specifically want to import, you're going to want to use the import button. And if you want to import everything without paying attention to what you have or have not selected, you would click import all. Okay, so import. I'm going to let that work away and we will go from there. Okay, the photos are all done importing. We can see these green check marks beside the image. Now it's time to back up those raw files. As far as backup, I use two different systems. I have my physical hard drives that sit on my desk, and I also have a cloud backup service that I pay for. This cloud service is called CrashPlan, and I don't have to do anything because it's always simply just running in the background. But for my drives, what I'm going to do is I will copy this raw folder with every photo that we just imported onto the drive. So for now, I'm only worried about backing up these RAWs as soon as possible, and that frees me up to erase this memory card to go do another shoot. Okay guys, step number 2 is the culling process. This is where I choose the keepers and trash the bad ones. For this process, I use Photo Mechanic. So in Photo Mechanic, I'm going to open up the folder. I have a few shortcuts up here with folders that I use often for my images, but you can access everything on your computer right here in the Navigator section. So opening up the folder here, Tara and Frank, Engagement Raw, and I'll start simply flagging the good shots. You will double click on your first image and that will open up a full screen window like this one. Now all there is to do is go down and look at your photos one by one and start flagging the good ones. So for this, I use keyboard shortcuts. I use the up and down arrow to move through the images, and I'll use the #1 key to add the color. So right here, you see that I pressed the #1 and added a pink flag. Okay, so after all the good ones have been selected, next step is to create a new folder inside of Photo Mechanic where we'll drag all those keepers into. Now, I'm going to go into this parent folder, going to right click, new folder inside this folder, and I'm going to name it the same way as I did for the raw photos. So Tara, Frank, Engagement, but this time instead of raw, I'm going to call them culled because I'm going to be dragging my culled photos in here. So when I open that folder in Lightroom, all I'm seeing is the good shots and I can concentrate on editing those and those only. And in order to be able to drag only the pink ones into that folder, you're going to go down here and click at the end here of the row of colors. And now we're only seeing the photos that were tagged. You can Command A for select all and simply drag those into the culled. Okay, so now if I was going to open this culled folder, all I see is these selected photos. And if I were to go back into the raw folder, all I'm seeing is the bad ones. I'm not going to delete these right now in case I have to go back and find a photo that I might have missed, but those are just going to sit there for now and be deleted eventually. Step number 3, my Lightroom Export presets. The culling is complete, I quit Photo Mechanic, and now I'm inside of Lightroom. I am going to import those photos from the culled folder that we just created back in Photo Mechanic. Okay, once I've edited and color corrected all my files, I'm going to want to export these RAWs into usable JPEGs. Now obviously for a regular shoot, there'd be a lot more than 4 images here, and I haven't really done much of these photos now, but this is just for the sake of the example. So I've selected all my photos, I'm going to go export, and these are my export settings. I will save these exported photos into yet another new folder that I'll create in the first original parent folder. So I'm going to go and create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Tara, Frank, Engagement, Edited. So you can see there's a pattern here. I like to keep everything very organized. Next is how I name my files. I will always name the files with the bride's name, the groom's name, the wedding venue location or the engagement session location, my business name, and then I'm going to keep the original file number there. Having all these words in there will help you for SEO later on when you share the images out into the world, and it also makes it a lot cleaner and easier to find the photos down the road. Next, the file settings, I export in JPEG, color space is sRGB, and I keep the JPEG quality at 100. Image sizing, I resize the image to make the longest edge to be 4,000 pixels wide, and the resolution I keep at 300 pixels per inch. This is great for printing, and I'll be resizing images for web in the next step. Sharpening. I sharpen for screen, amount high. This is a personal preference. I like the images to be very sharp. It all depends on your style at this point. And metadata, I have it set up to include everything except for camera and camera raw info, and I have checked all these boxes off. Step number 4, resizing my images for sharing on the web. Those high-resolution JPEGs that we just exported are great for printing, for sharing with clients, and for the wedding albums, but these files are way too heavy and too large to share on social media and on your blog. So this is where BlogStomp comes in. This is a magical little tool that allows you to resize images to share online. I truly love BlogStomp. I think it's a must-have for all photographers and bloggers. So seriously, if there's one program that you're going to go download after watching this video, I think it should be BlogStomp. It's a game changer for real. Okay, so before importing my images into BlogStomp to have them resized, I'm not going to do all the photos because I'm only going to share a small fraction of the photos from every shoot. So you're better off to choose which ones you want to have resized just to save you some time and to save file space as well. So for this example, because I only exported 3 images, I'm going to use all of those. But normally I would go pick and choose and drag them into BlogStomp. So let's take a look at what my settings look like. Here's the style that I use. Styles are just sets of presets that you can create in BlogStomp. I export my images for web with the longest edge being 2500 pixels. And that's all I do. This is all I modify. I don't add a logo for a watermark or anything. I just resize the images. But before I actually go and stomp all of these images, I want to create a new folder. This is the last one I'm going to be making, I promise. So this is same as before, Tara Frank engagement, but I'm going to add edited, stomped. Okay. Now back in BlogStomp, I just want to make sure that that's where the photos are going to be saved. So in Output, I'm going to select that folder right here. Here's the folder. Open it. Now we know that the photos are going to be saved out here. Last but not least, I'm going to tell BlogStomp to add stomped at the end of all the file names. So what it's going to do when I export these photos, it's going to keep the same file name as I had in the high-res JPEGs, except it's going to add underscore stomped to my file name. Now we are ready to stomp these. So I'm going to select the first one. Down here in styles, you want to make sure that you have your proper one selected because you can have different options. This is the one I want, and I'm just going to click stomp it. That was super quick. Now if I go back in this parent folder and I open this one, I can see all my new photos are here, the same file name with the underscore stomped. Step number 5, you guys, we're almost done. Managing the file size with JPEG Mini. This is another little magical tool that I couldn't live without. Honestly, I don't know how they do it, but it's like Hogwarts up in here, guys. So what happens is when you pass your photos through here, it'll reduce the file size by like up to 80% without affecting any quality. I've done a few tests with photos side by side and I haven't been able to see a difference. So here we go. I'm gonna pass my edited stock photos through there. We can all see they're on average 2.3 megabytes. Going to drag and drop them right in here. It's going to do its magic. And look at this, guys. Now the file size is 388 KB, 486 KB. That is awesome, especially for photographers with picture-heavy websites, because you don't want your website to slow down by having super heavy images on there. We made it. Step number 6, guys. This is the final backup. I am just going to be dragging all these last edited photos onto the hard drive. So this is the parent folder that we did in step 1. The RAWs are already there. That was step 1 as well. I'm just going to select all these new folders and drag them onto the drive. And that's it. Thanks for listening, friends. I hope you learned a lot from this video, and I can't wait to see you next time.